A brief description of Jallianwala Bagh, Amritsar, 226 kilometers from Punjab's capital Chandigarh. If you are watching my video for the first time, please subscribe and support. Looking forward to your valuable comments and suggestions. The Jallianwala Bagh massacre, also known as the Amritsar massacre, took place on 13 April 1919. A large crowd had gathered at the Jallianwala Bagh in Amritsar, Punjab, British India, during the annual Baisakhi fair to protest against the Rowlatt Act and the arrest of pro-Indian independence activists Saifuddin Kichlu and Satyapal. In response to the public gathering, the temporary Brigadier General R.E.H. Dyer surrounded the people with his Gurkha and Sikh infantry regiments of the British Indian Army. The Jallianwala Bagh could only be exited on one side, as its other three sides were enclosed by buildings. After blocking the exit with his troops, Dyer ordered them to shoot at the crowd, continuing to fire even as the protesters tried to flee. The troops kept on firing until their ammunition was low and they were ordered to stop. Estimates of those killed vary from 379 to 500 or more people, over 100 others were injured, of whom 192 sustained serious injuries. On Sunday, 13 April 1919, Dyer, convinced a major insurrection could take place, banned all meetings. This notice was not widely disseminated, and many villagers gathered in the Bagh to celebrate the Baisakhi festival and to peacefully protest against the arrest and deportation of two national leaders, Satyapal and Saifuddin Kichlu. At 9 o'clock on the morning of 13 April 1919, the traditional festival of Baisakhi, Dyer proceeded through Amritsar with several city officials, announcing the implementation of a pass system to enter or leave the city, a curfew beginning at 8 o'clock that night, and a ban on all processions and public meetings of 4 or more persons. The proclamation was read and explained in English, Urdu, Hindi, and Punjabi, but many either paid it no heed or learned of it only later. Meanwhile, local police had received intelligence of the planned meeting in the Jallianwala Bagh through word of mouth and plainclothes detectives in the crowds. Dyer was informed of the meeting at 12:40 p.m. and returned to his base at around 1:30 p.m. to decide how to handle it. By mid-afternoon, thousands of Indians had gathered in the Jallianwala Bagh garden near the Harmandir Sahib in Amritsar. Many who were present had been worshipping earlier at the Golden Temple and were merely passing through the Bagh on their way home. The Bagh was and remains today an open area of 6 to 7 acres, roughly 200 yards in size, and surrounded on all sides by walls roughly 10 feet in height. Balconies of houses 3 to 4 stories tall overlooked the Bagh, and 5 narrow entrances opened onto it, several with lockable gates. Although it was planted with crops during the rainy season, for much of the rest of the year it served as a local meeting place and recreation area. In the center of the Bagh was a Samadhi cremation site and a large well partly filled with water, which measured about 20 feet in diameter. Apart from the pilgrims passing through, Amritsar had filled up over the preceding days with farmers, traders, and merchants who were attending the annual Baisakhi horse and cattle fair. Because the city police closed the fair at 14 o'clock that afternoon, many of those who had been attending it drifted into the Jallianwala Bagh, further increasing the number of people who happened to be there when the massacre. Dyer arranged for an aeroplane to overfly the Bagh and estimate the size of the crowd, which he reported was about 6,000. However, the Hunter Commission estimates that a crowd of between 10,000 and 20,000 assembled by the time Dyer arrived. Dyer and Deputy Commissioner Irving, the senior civil authority for Amritsar, took no actions to prevent the crowds from assembling or to disperse them peacefully. This would later be a serious criticism leveled at both Dyer and Irving. The following day Dyer stated in a report, "I have heard that between 200 and 300 of the crowd were killed. My party fired 1,000 rounds. Apart from the many deaths that resulted directly from the shooting, a number of people died by being crushed in the stampedes at the narrow gates or by jumping into the solitary well on the compound to escape the shooting." A plaque, placed at the site after independence, states that 120 bodies were removed from the well. In February 2013, David Cameron became the first serving British Prime Minister to visit the site. He laid a wreath at the memorial and described the Amritsar massacre as a deeply shameful event in British history, one that Winston Churchill rightly described at that time as monstrous. "We must never forget what happened here, and we must ensure that the UK stands up for the right of peaceful protests." Cameron did not deliver an official apology. This was criticized by some commentators. Writing in the Telegraph, Sankarshan Thakur stated, "Over nearly a century now British protagonists have approached the 1919 massacre ground of Jallianwala Bagh, thumbing the thesaurus for an appropriate word to pick. Sorry has not been among them." Thanks for watching. If you like the video, please subscribe. Next video will come soon.